But now he has plenty of Goliaths in to defend against this. Fantasy has a huge troop. As long as he doesn't die to this counter-attack, Fantasy knows this is coming now. His tanks are unsieged, but Stork does not have any speed lots in there to break through the defenses. So Stork decides to back off a little bit. He's going to do kind of a double-pronged attack. Attack this 1 o'clock base as he's attacking the main at the same time. Fantasy is going to have to focus on one. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to split his attention and survive this. But he's fending off the troops inside the middle of the map, not quite committing enough troops to that 1 o'clock, I think, but he does finally clean that up. He's got some Goliaths in there, but that means he doesn't have hardly any Goliaths inside of his main. Stork able to kill all the turrets, but that's basically it. I don't think he killed any production buildings in there inside the main. So Fantasy actually doing a good job of multitasking there, knowing just the amount of troops he needs to protect each of those locations. So Fantasy has a booming army, a very nice economy going off of 4 bases. So as long as he can siege here and fend off this pincer attack from Stork. Now Stork has a lot of carriers left. I mean, this is a lot of carriers. It doesn't matter how many Goliaths you have after a certain point. Carriers can always kill Goliaths if you have enough of them. But now we're going to see if Stork does have enough to kill the Goliath count from Fantasy. Fantasy holding his own, but his Goliaths are not grouped up. He doesn't have them grouped up. He's devoting all of his resources to killing this 3rd base from Stork. Maybe he thinks, no, he knows that Stork is expanding out the 5 o'clock position because he had a barracks down there earlier, and he landed it because the probe was in the vicinity. So he knows there's a base down there. He's going to lose his base at the 1 o'clock position. Stork has pretty much devoted all of his Dragoons to taking this down. He's being repaired, though, so Stork not going to be successful in taking down the command center. Some very clutch repair from Fantasy, but going to need those Goliaths. Where are Fantasy's Goliaths? He needs a lot of Goliaths. Basically, pump nothing but Goliaths. Forget about tanks for a while, because he's going to need Goliaths to protect against this many carriers. Look at this huge amount of carriers out. Fantasy has not sniped any carriers yet, and that's really going to hurt him if he can't get out enough factories to make this worth it. But okay, he has his Goliaths. He has a lot of Goliaths out on the map, but they're all kind of spread out. He needs to bring them together. Bring the boys together, the Goliaths together, because now Stork going to go for this contain yet again, since there is a little bit of remnants left. Oh, a lot of mines killing Dragoons. Looks like those mines are going to keep Fantasy in this game for the moment. So he took down 1 base from Stork, and that gives them a huge advantage, I think. I think Fantasy is in a big advantage as long as he keeps that Goliath count high. Even though he basically does have the economic advantage, he has the military advantage, he's got to keep the Goliaths at the capacity he needs to fight this up. Look at this. The amount of carriers that Stork has is just ridiculous at this point. Fantasy hasn't sniped any of them. He's just been sniping interceptors, but he's got to focus on the carriers now, pick off the carriers, and all of his Goliaths are spread out. And Stork is going for the production buildings now, so going for the counterattack like Fantasy is doing. At the moment, he's going for the natural expansion. Base trading like this is not going to pay off for Fantasy. I'm not sure what he's doing, because if he loses his production buildings, that means no more Goliaths out there. And more carriers from Stork, since obviously he has his Stargates inside the main, so he can keep pumping those as these bases are going down from Fantasy. These production buildings are going to go down. So Fantasy, even though he's going to take down this natural expansion pretty easily, not much resistance there from Stork, but yeah, now he's running back with his entire army. So it looks like he's kind of indecisive about what he wants to do in this game. He's going to defend that 1 o'clock base. He loses 1 production building, 1 factory inside of his main. But that indecision might have just cost him this game, not deciding to do the counterattack or defend his bases, because now he doesn't really have enough troops to do both, because he still has troops in the middle of the map. And has most of his troops at the 1 o'clock, I think. Now they're siphoning into the main to protect these production buildings. These factories, just losing left and right. Stork has plenty of carriers left inside this main. And Fantasy, he's acting as if he doesn't know about the 5 o'clock, because he took out the Stork's 3rd base, so he thought, okay, he's down on bases now, just took out a lot of probes at the natural expansion, so he might be thinking to himself, well, he's going to be down on mining now. But yeah, he's just kind of acting like that doesn't exist. He hasn't dropped it or anything. Obviously hasn't gone for that with any troops or anything, so it's a very odd strategy from Fantasy to go for the counterattack and then pull back as he was doing that counterattack. Didn't even take down the natural expansion from Stork, as I thought he would commit himself to. But look at the carriers out now for Stork. So many carriers, and he has found the overwhelming number of carriers he needs to take this game now, I think, because he's just hovering by those production buildings. This is all that Fantasy has as far as getting up reinforcements. He has his factories here inside the main, going in for another small counterattack, trying to pick off that Nexus. He's focus firing on the Nexus, going to take that down. But still, it's not going to be enough. Stork has plenty of mineral intake from that 5 o'clock base to support interceptors for these carriers. And I don't even think he needs to pump any more carriers. I think he just needs to devote his minerals to maybe another base somewhere else and his interceptor count. Because Fantasy's not going to be able to take out these carriers now. Losing another factory, all of his factories going down. Oh, geez, not looking good for Fantasy. Even though he was working off of 4 bases, Stork kind of went for the jugular, cut him off at the neck so he wouldn't be able to produce any more troops. Things not looking good. Fantasy scans the 5 o'clock base as if he didn't know about that before. Very, very strange play from Fantasy, but I don't think he knew about the 5 o'clock, as strange as that sounds, even though he floated down earlier. So building starports, this is Fantasy's last gasp. He's going to try to get out cloaked wraiths to deal with this, but Stork has brought all of his observers with his carriers, so this is not even going to be effective. Look at this last stand from Fantasy, the tanks interwoven with the turrets. And he's going to have tons of starports coming your way, Stork. Very odd play, but you see the control tower coming up already. He's going to try to research. Cloak, come on, Cloak, you can do it. Oh, come on, research faster. Oh, I don't even have my control tower yet. Fantasy going to be pretty much crushed here as Stork's entire ground army moving in as well at the same time. Oh, boy, Fantasy. Oh, boy. GG from Fantasy, and Stork, the versus Terran expert, takes it, even though he was scouted completely early with his carriers. Wacky. Wacky, wacky. So, this has been Nuke. I will be back later in the week, most likely Friday, to finish up 4 more games. That's been Nuke. See you guys later.